Here we go, part two, bruh. This is dull coat. You'll see the man talking about that. Dave Fisher be talking about using dull coat in between his coats. Dull coat is real good for airbrushing. The difference between spraying in between and letting your paint dry when you're basically brush painting, the brush paint is a little more thicker, so you got to give it like 24 to 48 hours to dry before you spray it with a mat so it doesn't get that cloudiness you've been having. But because airbrush paint goes on so thin, you can actually dual coat in between that. So let's say you get a flesh or a funky color going and you want to kind of preserve that, go and just spray a little bit of dual coat on it and it'll hold it just where you want to. This is kind of a paintable way to get a matte finish dual coat kind of in a painted form there. If you wanted to have an area that you wanted to kind of matte down and it was too close to get the airbrush into, you could dip one of your brushes into and that'll matte it down. But dual coat, everybody likes it. I don't particularly care for it because you don't get enough in a can, so it's just not very cost effective. But you know, some people swear by it, so you know, to each his own. Here is your airbrush cleaning kit, just if you need to get down in the weeds and break it down, and you got brushes, you got a little lube in there. What you're going to do is probably every 5th or 6th time you use your airbrush, you want to break it down, clean it, make sure it's good and dry, and then put a little bit of lube on your fingertips and just drag the needle through your fingertips just to get a little oil up. You don't need a whole lot of heavy, just a little something. This is the little pen that you can use to kind of do your pupils on your eyes. If it doesn't seem to come out real heavily, you can turn around and dip this motor scooter in some paint, bruh, and then use it that way too. So when it runs low, runs out, use it that way. Just all these other things are just additive. You want to do a little funkiness to a kit, some reflective stuff, you can use all these things. This is water-based oil paint. You can use these to create washes if you want to, and that'll kind of give you a little different flavor than the washes over here. You can also take some of this and mix it with that. It's really up to you, bro. But these are just water-based oil paints instead of the oil-based oil paints that you got to thin with linseed oil and things of that nature. You can thin these motor scooters with water, make a nice wash. The only thing about it, it's going to take maybe a few days to dry. So this is kind of one of the things, if you use this as a wash, you know, sit it to the side and don't rush it. And because it might take 3-4 days to dry, it just depends, you know. But it's a nice effect. It kind of gives you that wispy effect. You can also use them to kind of do a little dry brushing effect too, straight out the jar. A little dab of do you, bro. Put like a little bit on one of your paint trays that I'm gonna give you, and you can just feather it in, and it's a real good dry brushing technique. You won't get brush strokes, but once again, if you use it straight out the tube, it's gonna take a few days to dry. So don't be in no rush. Put it to the side. Go to another project. Some more sculpting tools just to help you out in prepping, you know, running some clay. If you're making some little additions, you might want to make a severed head to go to something, or, you know, fix a piece that's missing something. That's what it is. If you ever need a pinner kit, that's a pinning set. Different sizes, you just use your drill bit and drill it on in and you'll be good to go. Lighting kit right here. That's just to get some lights in your kit. You want to do a Predator, maybe that red light in the Predator's cannon, you can do that, or add some white light to something. This is a totally inclusive kit. All you need to do is add the 9 volts, and the 3 volts are already in there. Pretty self-explanatory. Some polishing sticks here. Some bumpers for the bottom of your bases to kind of protect the part when you're rolling it around. You can get these bases like this, Walmart, Michaels, anywhere. I get them from Walmart, Michaels, so it's just bases if you want to add something, because some of the kits that you'll get, you know, they won't have any bases, so you want to kind of come up with your own scene. You can buy those anywhere. I just threw you one in, you know what it looks like. They come in different sizes, shapes, squares, hearts, bigger than that. Some of them have beveled edges, some of them don't. Brush cleaner. This is where you stick your airbrush into there and put, like, let's say you're going from a white to a red. When you finish shooting the white, put you some airbrush cleaner here into your airbrush, then stick it inside of this unit, pull the trigger, and it just kind of helps you clean the brush without getting all that residue all in the air. Here's some replacement filters on top of that. Realistic water. This is the one you want to get like an old Pi 10 or something, bruh. Put a little bit of that, put it on top of the stove. Watch it now, but put it on top of the stove and, you know, make sure the kids are not around and stuff. When it starts to bubble up and basically turn to liquid, it's good to go. You can take it, pour it into anything, and it'll harden up, man, and it gives you kind of nice little funky water effect, kind of yellowish water with some bubbles in it or whatever. You see Dave, he'll probably use something similar to this in that the model media tape that you have. Hang on. I'll be right back.